My name is Jay Pinzarkar and I'm working here as a lead for this project as considering the software development part. So basically, this is how the user interface of the shipping radiated tool will look like. Basically, tool is divided into two components, majorly in instantaneous noise mapping and cumulative noise mapping. So at the top right corner, you can see that you can toggle between those two components. So first, we will go ahead with the instantaneous noise mapping. So instantaneous noise mapping gives the real-time ship-rated noise mapping based on the current vessel traffic. Uh, so in that, on the left side, you can see that there is a feature to add a AIS layer and bathymetry layer. So when we add the AIS layer, so current vessel traffic will be popping up, and if you can select the vessels, each ship vessels details will be popping up with the ship noise at the source level. Uh, Coming to the second layer, the bathymetry layer gives the ocean complete visualizations to user. So it will be helpful for user to visualize the ocean depth while selecting the area of interest that the user want to calculate the noise level for that particular region. Below that, you can see that a user can switch between the receivers frequency. Coming to the functionality of the area selection, so we are giving us the two user inputs option for area selection. So user can enter directly area of interest and south lat long coordinates can be put up manually, or just user can drag and select the area that you want to calculate the shipping related noise. So for that area selection, we also applied the different validations. So while selecting the area, for example, like if a user selected the on land, so there is a restriction on selection of land. So that's the kind of validation is also applied for the area selection. And coming to the area selection calculation part, so area selection functionality gives the if for example I am selecting the region right now in the depths of the ocean. So accordingly, what is the available by considering the bathymetric data of this area, it is giving us the depth arrays of values that can be select as a receiver's depth option. So that is the available depth right now. I select the more depth in the ocean, so you can select that the say to the up to the around 3,000 meters. So if, for example, right now, if I selected near the more where the coastal region, so you can see the difference between the depth receiver depth limitation. So right now you can only select with the 50 meters of depth. So that kind of validations and calculations are applied right now. So let's select one area and plot our noise mapping. So after selecting the area, as Sridhar sir also mentioned in the presentation that the H3 indices that we are using. So for the H3 indices lying in the area that is passing through the backend for the calculation, and after clicking on generating, it will be started the calculation of each for the each receiver point. So each H3 indices will act as a one receiver point, and the 200 kilometers area within the 200 kilometers of radius, whatever the vessels are pounding out. So for each vessel, it is calculating the transmission loss. So the transmission loss considering the different factors like what is the mathematical part or what is the reflection of the sound, what is this absorption due to the sediment. So that factor it is considering. So while it is competing, we can go ahead with previously calculated results. So I'm established different case scenarios that will showcase you the tool's capability and the accuracy of the tool. So first, I'm selected the region in the low dense area, vessel traffic area. So you can right now see the diverse spectrum of the noise. The area, the shift far near to this area is giving this the noise range from the 90 decibels to 101 decibels, and the shift is far from this area is giving us the noise ranging from the 10 dB to 30 decibels. In terms of the second case of mediumly dense traffic zone, So you can see that the tool is calculating right now the results is between the 90 decibels to 120 decibels. But right now you can see the accuracy of the interpolation that we have done. So not it's tool not giving us the directly based on the AI's location of the ship, but it's interpolating the according to the results. Uh, the third case, I select the scenario of a very high dense area. So right now, as I mentioned, if for each receiver points is calculating, and right now for each receiver, the 200-kilometer radius, in high density area, the ships found for each receiver is around 2,000 to 3,000 vessels, number of vessels. And for such heavy computations, also tool has the use capability of the computations. Fourth case I considered as near the coastal region with high density area. But right now you can see that there are lots of vessels, but the noise level bit is in a low spectrum. So the reason for that is if ships near the coastal regions are with lesser speeds, and also there is a sediment thing also there. So sediment absorption factor also rise in the sun. So that shows the accuracy of the tool. So it's still calculating. We can go ahead with the cumulative noise mapping thing. So cumulative noise mapping thing gives the uh, logarithmic sum of the noise level for the particular time period, and for based on the specific time period, specific based on the AI traffic for the specific time period. So it's taking some time to calculate. Mhm. So similarly, you can see the logarithm. Same feature as the AI layer and mathematical layer as in the cumulative noise map also. You can select between the receiver's frequency also. There is the option of you can download all those your computed result in a PDF or image form, and you can set reset all those layer in it, using the reset functionality. So coming to the final, this software is also available on cross-device device platform. So you can easily operate on the desktop, mobile, and tablet users. It's taking a bit longer time to calculate. I should select the smaller user. So you can see that for each indices is going through the loop and calculating the transmission loss, considering all those factors. Yes, you can see the results right now. That the real-time thing right now we are calculated. Yes, that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay and Sridhar. I think all of you can see that each and every code has been hand coded by the team, and Sridhar has been doing this for almost 7 to 8 years now. And in the last 3, 4 years, our team has expanded. But I would like to say that this is a single-handed effort of Sridhar right from the beginning. And as he mentioned that it keeps evolving, and there is so much more that one can keep just adding. I mean, so many more applications can be put on that. I mean, I have few of my naval seniors here. Even for deployment, we can provide a tool like this. And even we have also a version called the passive sonar deployment tool, which can be kind of used to find out what is the best detection position and what is the best position in terms of minimizing the vulnerability. So there are various applications, I mean, both from military as well as non-military. And as we said that every month, this is an innovation series. There are multiple aspects of the marine spatial planning we are trying to populate, and they have worked on various dimensions. So we'll open it up for our esteemed guests to give their comments, or if there are any questions also, we'll be very happy to answer. It's an open platform now. Anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, and you can just switch on your mic and go ahead. We are a small group now. If there are no questions from the audience, then I would request our esteemed panelists who we have requested to join. Commodore Anil Jaising, sir, you may like to go first.
Thank you very much, Arnab. It's been really fascinating. I think you guys are doing some path-breaking work in the underwater domain awareness space in the country. And I'm always fascinated by the innovative sort of steps you all have been taking with your team. And my congratulations to MRC and to the complete team, including yourself. I've been seeing you grow from when you were, just starting out, and you achieved tremendous amount of success, and you really path-breaking success in this field. And I congratulate you for that. I hope you continue this, because this is probably a pocket of excellence that is very unique in this country at the moment. I'll just have a few comments, but I'll start off from Sridhar's last sentence of his presentation, where he said that this tool is not just about measuring sound. In the current maritime environment, it's about a lot more than measuring sound. It is going to shape, it could be used effectively to shape the geopolitics of the region, if I may take it to a different level altogether. And I will talk more as a practitioner than a scientist, because as a former submariner, I understand the importance of underwater sound and how it determines everything, because that is the only way of measuring anything underwater is sound waves. You don't have the electromagnetic spectrum, you have nothing else. And the sound waves are so susceptible to the vagaries of the hydrographic domain, or the ocean domain, that there is no generalization that can be done. Sound velocity can change in the same area 4 times a day. We've done it in submarines. We measure sound velocity almost every 4 hours, just because we know there will be changes. They're dependent on temperature, salinity, pressure, and all the other things, that sedimentation, etc., and all the other things that came out in the presentation. So I think this tool is extremely effective. I just wanted to one question. How are you monitoring each and every ship in this very dense shipping environment? Are you using AIS data to sort of correlate platform noise to a particular ship, or what is the means? And once you do that, and you find that there are ships which are polluting the environment beyond acceptable or permissible limits, how do you plan to then convey this to the concerned authorities? Because it's not a, yes, I agree, shipping as a whole has to get their act together. They have been doing a lot of good work in green shipping, etc., but there's a lot more to be done. It costs money, it takes time. Shipping is a business like any other business. If it's not commercially viable, people are going to hesitate to do it. But there will have to be some sort of policy framework which ensures that this gets done. That is in a generic sort of a manner. And India, I think, more than anybody else, because our shipping fleet is actually more than 20 years old. Majority of our shipping fleet. We really need to address that problem. But how, if and when you find ships who are polluting in coastal waters, Indian coastal waters, how then are we going to single these out, and what are the kind of measures that can be taken to ensure that either they do not operate in these waters, because it's very difficult to stop a merchant ship coming in and going out. Obviously, there is no regulatory framework presently in place, either internationally or locally, to prevent a ship from coming in when it has to. And this will get more and more important, because, as you know, particularly in India's case, let me talk about India and the Indo-Pacific. The Indo-Pacific is now the center of gravity of global geopolitics and global geoeconomics. 65% of the global GDP is generated in the Indo-Pacific. Already 100,000 ships more than 100,000 ships are transiting the Indian Ocean. India has a pivotal position. It's right in the center of the Indian Ocean. A large percentage of these 100,000 ships pass close to Indian waters, whether within the Indian Ocean or transiting from the Atlantic to the Pacific and vice versa. The Malacca Strait, or we sit astride the Malacca Strait, 70,000 ships transit that narrow waterway. So it has a huge impact on the maritime domain, or the maritime biosphere, or whichever way you want to put it, marine life, marine growth, everything. So, how and what is India going to do, and how are you as a research organization going to create scale up to a level where this can be done at a national level? And what sort of regulatory framework do you recommend should be introduced to ensure that these things happen? I mean, this is all very nice to say that we can do this and we can do that, but we've seen that it's very difficult. We are going to grow into a 5 trillion economy and a 10 trillion economy and a Viksit Bharat, a $30 trillion economy. The exponential increase that we will have in the amount of trade and the amount of shipping that will go to and from Indian ports. You're getting deep sea ports are coming up, Vizhinjam, Vadhavan, Nicobars. And there are lots of environmental concerns being expressed about these ports coming up. So all these factors combined will need to have a very focused policy sort of framework. Now, I'm not getting into technical aspects of it. I'm just getting into policy framework. So when you develop a tool like this, which is going to be very effective in addressing this, what have you visualized as scaling this? I'm only talking right now of shipping. I'm not talking of underwater exploration. I'm not talking of things like that, or effect of sonars on fishing and et cetera, on whales and things like that, which have bothered people for many years. In fact, if you remember correctly, the US Navy had gotten some regulation about where and when a ship or submarine can transmit on its active sonars, because it was disturbing the whales and the other underwater mammals in the region. So those are the sort of issues which I would like to sort of just get some more inputs or some sort of more light on it, because I'm ignorant about these things as well. Climate change events, we know that it's very important that climate change events are understood in the right dimension, and we are able to predict these with more accuracy. We know they're going to become, extreme weather events are going to become more frequent. If you remember, the tsunami in 2004 took everyone by surprise. Most of us hadn't even heard of the word tsunami before that. Now, of course, a lot of mitigation measures have come into play, but still not enough to be able to predict well in advance that there is some disturbance happening, and the sort of acoustic pattern is changing. Is it going to lead to an extreme weather event? Can we have risk reduction, risk mitigation, etc.? So that is another very important application, as has come out in this. Blue economy initiatives, I don't need to elaborate on. Fishing, of course, is a major thing. What else? I've been jotting down quickly, a lot of things which came to my mind. And of course, I think the most important two things again, which I would like to highlight, or three things, is firstly, you were very right, capacity building. We cannot do this in isolation. No country can do this in isolation. MDA or UDA or even situational awareness in an area as vast as the Indian Ocean is not possible by any one nation. So capacity building is very important. Most of the Indian Ocean region comprises the global south, who do not have the means to go in for expensive means and expensive technologies to understand this. They have to be integrated into a technology framework which they can understand, and they have the financial wherewithal to implement. Of course, with Indian support, because India is the Indo of the Indo-Pacific, as I've always maintained. So that's one part. So how are we going to highlight? How are we going to sort of bring this capacity building approach? How do we bring everybody on board and make them understand the importance of this? Second, of course, is we have to go beyond the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Southern Indian Ocean, which is your present area of concentration. Third is, how are you interpreting this information and making it actionable for the policymakers or the person at sea or the regulatory sort of bodies at sea to ensure that these are implemented? That is also very important. And would this find acceptance in a larger framework of, let's say, in the multilateral frameworks, Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IORA, IONS, because these are things that these are common to all. It's public goods we are talking about. We're talking about, it's like a non-traditional security threat in the maritime domain, actually, if you look at it. So how are we going to take the next step to bring it into a larger policy framework on maritime security in the region, whether it's through Quad or it's through IORA or it's through, like I said, the IPOI or East Asia Summit or whatever it may be? These are the things which I think the next step which you will have to focus on is this. I think it's a great initiative. And coming back to what I said in the beginning, how do you distinguish between, let's say you showed 3 areas on the map. Now there's a lot of fishing traffic between India and Sri Lanka. Fishing boats of all shapes, sizes, from mechanized trawlers to little boats with outboard engines. We've seen them all when we've operated at sea. Then you go towards the west coast of India. There are certain concentrated pockets of shipping. There are certain not so concentrated pockets of shipping. Shipping can be very different on different days. So what is the sort of monitoring framework that you can establish? Not a generic noise measurement tool, but a more specific noise measurement tool which actually addresses the problem and is able to introduce or create a regulatory framework which addresses these issues. So I'll just end at that, and maybe in the discussion some more questions will come up. But thank you very much. It's really been a fascinating presentation. I've learned a lot from this, and I think there's tremendous amount of potential in what you're doing. So please continue. I just want to tell your team, please continue this good work you guys are doing. It takes time for people like us to understand this. It takes time for policymakers to understand this. But I'm sure once they have, sky's the limit, or the depths of the sea are the limit, or whatever way you want to put it. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for this presentation.
Thank you, sir. Actually, I'm sorry I didn't introduce Commodore AJ Singh. Sir has been a submariner He has commanded submarines, so he knows it very well, what it takes to deploy submarines. And he's been a senior naval commander. And most importantly, I mean, you can make out from the points he has made, he was India's naval attaché at London. So he understands geopolitics very well. So thank you so much for a very, very insightful comments that you made. And first, I will request Sridhar to answer a few questions, and then I'll on a larger, you have raised multiple points. So Sridhar, I would please request you to first answer a few of the technical points sir has made.
Right, sir. Thank you. And again, Anil sir, again, thank you for those questions. What you mentioned is extremely right. So I'll try to answer some of the questions to the best of my capacity. To begin with, I'll humbly accept I'm not a geopolitical expert or a policy expert, so take it with a pinch of salt. That being said, coming to the first question that you mentioned, how we perform this computation, again, as I mentioned, it's basically the AI that has helped us reach this kind of a computational power. Before AI, as I mentioned, the computational requirement that is required to perform so much amount of basically identifying the ships. So again, like I won't go too much into depth. We have done a lot of pre-processing on the data. So whenever a data comes, we identify which ships are near to what point, and we basically, we apply something called as an indexing for faster processing. So there are a lot of computational methods that we have applied, and that is what has created this project to be so complex, but at the same time also rewarding in that sense. So yes, but to cut it short, it has been definitely a lot of processing, pre-processing that we have done on the data, and the use of AI, specifically the neural network, that has allowed us to create such kind of a project. So a large part of the contribution definitely goes to the advent of AI and how the whole thing is moving towards communities moving towards applications of artificial intelligence. In terms of outreach, now I'll try to answer these questions from my perspective in terms of outreach. The first thing I would like to mention is that one, in terms of how to make people more aware. So before we actually go about solving a problem, I think, and I might be wrong, but currently in India, we have a problem of actually, we don't even know what the problem is to begin with. Like no one, like this is not a very widely accepted understanding of what, no one really knows that what noise level is in the region. No one understands. There are a lot of forums where people talk about it, but there's no pictorial representation that showcases such kind of data in real time, because unless we showcase that kind of information. So again, this comes back to that to see, to understand, to share a framework that we are devising, in the sense that sharing needs to be done in such a manner that people understand the importance of the situation, or like the color coded maps. Like if a simple example, the color coded maps, we specifically used those kind of colors ranging from blue to green to red, because then the user can visualize that what kind of criticality we are at currently. So yes, so in terms of making it more reachable, so this tool is more in terms of making people aware of the problem, making people identify that this kind of a problem exists. In terms of outreach, I can see that like many India is currently, as you might be rightly aware of, IMO is currently pursuing the Glow Noise project, and India is being part of that project, and MRC is also part of the team from India, which is representing India in this Glow Noise project, the wider initiative. And that is a very able forum for us. We have already displayed some aspects of this capability. There are tools there, but that is an able forum to make it more reachable to the wider audience. The second aspect is the coastal community. Our engineers, Shreya and Ayush, who are here, they've been to coastal community. They've been to the coastal community of Gujarat and Maharashtra and other places, as I mentioned, and they've interacted with these coastal people, fishermen per se, and they have rightly pointed out that like they understand that there is fluctuation in happening in the fishing. They understand that seasonal fluctuations are happening in the fishing. They understand that, and in some places they are able to find fishes, in other places they don't. But then there's nothing that tells them in real time that this is the reason why this is happening. An increased noise level will disperse the marine habitat in the region, and this kind of information is not, this real-time information is not there in their hands. And that is the reason why, again, we made this in a very phone handheld device, so that because most of the coastal community, or the broader community for that matter, will not be sitting in a machine, sitting in a computer and looking at the data. They want something that is handheld, something that is accessible at an ease of time. And that is again an idea behind this, that we reach out to the common people, because unless and until the communities themselves raise a voice and say that this is causing a disturbance for us, policies, I might be wrong, but policies might not be something that would come up until this has been actually identified as an issue to begin with. So yes, I think those are the two major factors that I feel that are in terms of outreach. And of course, most of the port authorities. When we went to Goa as part of a UDA summer school, we saw that the people who sit in the lighthouse, they basically look at a screen which showcases the AIS, which basically showcases what is the incoming traffic of vessels in the region. But imagine if they also have this information of what kind of noise level is being generated in that region.
Correct.
That is a huge power for them, because then that they can see visually that, oh, there's a container vessel that is moving at this kind of a speed and that's bringing a lot of noise into our shores. So again, it's more in terms of making people aware, but I believe that that is what will drive people into more like creating policies to solve the problem. So yeah,
Can I
those are
can I
my
just
two.
interject for a minute, because and it's my ignorance which is talking now.
Yes, sir, please,
Uh,
sir.
is there a possibility, and this is just I'm thinking aloud, of at some point in time, when this is more accepted worldwide and things like that, of having sensors on undersea cables, let's say, which are continuously monitoring the movement of shipping and et cetera, and being able to give this information. May not be in the next couple of years, but long term, something like that can be thought of.
If sensors become cheaper, so then sure. I
Yeah, of
think
course. It's all a matter of resources and money. At the end of the day, that's what counts. No doubt about it. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. However, at that being mentioned, the primary focus for this tool has been the economic viability of it. The fact that you need to generate, you need to be able to see the data without that much amount of cost and infrastructure being put in. And that has been the primary approach, primary goal towards this. That is the reason why we are relying on satellite data, which provides a similar kind of information. Of
Right.
course, not with 100% accuracy, but again, it comes between that cost versus accuracy trade-off that we do here. And like from the analysis that we have done, uh, as I said, a plus minus 5-10% is the gap that we are seeing. Like as I showcased in our graph, with the recording that Arnab sir did in Goa region versus what we have developed now. There's not much of a difference in terms of, like, there's a certain trade-off, but that is an acceptable trade-off, and we feel that
Okay.
that is what we are moving towards, more of an economically viable approach. And if you look at it from a policy perspective, I believe that this is enough in terms of the policy part, at least to begin with. Of course, I agree with you in the aspect that we need to make a lot of improvisations.
No,
Um,
that's right. You're at the you're the research people. The scalability production will be done by someone else, obviously. But
right.
thank you. It's been a fascinating. For me, it's been a fascinating presentation. Thank you so much.
Sir, I just wanted to add a couple of points. You made few policy aspects. Sir, in terms of policy, I mean, typically, global policy, regional policy, national policy, and even local policy. And you also know that there is phenomenal gap in all of them and, understanding and everything. So, firstly, as far as the innovation is concerned, 2019, in a very primitive form, we won a global innovation challenge, and I had visited. We were invited to France, Brest, and this was showcased. And that's when the European Union people, I mean, the maritime head was there, and they said, "Have you gone to IMO?" So I had no clue, to be honest, that this could go to IMO. And they said, "We can take you to IMO." I mean, I also didn't know that individually you cannot go. It's a nation which is a
Mm.
member of
Mm.
IMO. So once I came back, I was lucky that in a couple of months I was in front of the shipping minister with the entire senior, the DG shipping to JS shipping and everybody. But believe me, sir, it took me 1.5 years from that point to actually my paper to go to IMO from India. So MEPC 76 in 2021, our paper went to IMO. And based on our paper, now India has been nominated as the lead country for underwater noise in the Indian Ocean. IMO is taking it up very seriously. And what they appreciated was that we actually talk about the tropical waters. I mean, my argument was that the tropical conditions to be factored, I mean, we as a developing nation can never meet the European standards. So we will have to work on our own standard, and that was the main point there. So now, last year they have formed a national task force, and we are part of that task force. And IMO has, so we made a presentation to the IMO coordinator, and DG Shipping has been extremely kind. Earlier, Mr. Amitabh Kumar, and now Shyam Jagannathan sir, they have been very closely associated and monitoring our work. This is also a major part of the green shipping initiative.
Exactly.
So all that, so we are in discussion, but you will also agree with me that in the government, things do take its own time, and that's one. So this is one aspect, but also one point which has to be highlighted, or you have also mentioned, is awareness of the policymaker, the importance of what we are talking. I mean, what Sridhar said. So what we have done is, Government of India has a platform called the Capacity Building Commission. I mean, in 2019, the Honorable Prime Minister set up this, and so they have taken 10 e-learning modules from us, and we are told that we are the top-rated domain-specific e-learning modules on that platform. So a lot of scientific community and a lot of people have gone through it, but this is part of the larger capacity building that we talk about.
Okay.
So in terms of global policy, UN has taken cognizance of this. There is discussion happening, and I'm hoping that this will probably see the light of the day. In terms of regional policy, sir, you are right. Quad and more than Quad, IORA and various other things. Now we have the chairmanship of IORA. So we are definitely reaching out and talking about things. But it will take a little while, I think, to make it happen. But what we have done, MRC pushes the policy, but NirDhwani has been focused. We don't wait for somebody to fund us, or we don't wait for somebody to support us. I mean, Sridhar has been working on this, and the important factor is that everything is hand-coded. So while you as an operator or you as a submarine commander, if you tell me, Arnab, I don't like this, I want this, my team I can tell you on the go, they can change it to your requirement. And you can see that there are customized displays. Whether as a commander on the submarine, you have a specific requirement, but somebody at the war room will have a different requirement. And even like when you are as a submarine, when you dive, you will not have access to AIS data. So our team has also worked on certain predictive algorithm that using AI based on the data that we have, we can, it will not be a complete zero kind of a situation. Right. You will get something, and there may be obviously differences. So we can customize it to any requirement, and identifying ships. So there are so many applications. I mean, we sit here. That's true. When Sridhar mentioned about lighthouse, he may require something else, but and everything can be customized, and kind of we can take it forward. So I think we'll stop here. Otherwise, we can discuss.
Thank you, Arnab. Thank you very much.
So we'll request. Yeah, there is a hand going up. Rupak sir, I think you can come next, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'll just take 2 minutes. I'm from Indigenous Technologies, Commander Berry, and we are working on some IDEX project with the Indian Navy on underwater noise cancellation. So in the last 2 years, I've been interacting a lot with the naval agencies on this issue, and of course, we are trying to improve performance of hull-mounted sonars. But but we have been dealing with noise, noise. So I just had 1 or 2 questions. One is that the sensors for collecting the noise, na. So you have, exclusive sensors for collecting the noise. I believe the Indian Navy, generally does, the noise, for the Indian Navy ships, they go to the underwater ranges and, there they collect the noise signature. The other thing is about the engine noise. I mean, the submarines have that, not all of them, but many of them now have got that submarine noise monitoring system, which gives the specific, the noise level at different points. So, but that is, like for merchant ships and all, do they have any tools to monitor the engine noise and then communicate the data? And the other thing which I wanted to share is that when we were, doing our work, so we needed some data, about the, different, the noise produced by the ship's machinery. So we went to the US Navy postgraduate school site, and we found a lot of data was available. They have declassified the data of the Second World War, which was recorded by the ships and submarines, and they have put up that data. It is available to everyone. So actually, we were, even the Indian Navy was not able to give us the kind of data that we got from the US Navy postgraduate school site, So whereas Indian Navy was giving us data from simulators, the US Navy postgraduate school site provided real-time, situations, operational scenarios of the underwater, data they had collected, which was very helpful in, analyzing realistic data, actually. So I got in touch with few of my friends and all, that can we also, can we have a philosophy of, making the data available, because without that, it is difficult to do R&D. You need a data in open source. You may, of course, at times buy some exclusive data, but generally, I think, and the other thing is in the Navy that Indian Navy itself doesn't have a nodal agency for underwater issues. So since it's very important for the Indian Navy, like we have scattered in DSR, we deal with DSR, DWE, and VESI, and NSTL, NPOL. I mean, there are so many things happening, but we don't. There is no central agency to monitor. Like supposing, let's say there is a difference of opinion between, let's say, Bell and NSTL or NPOL. So, is there a apex body on underwater issues who will resolve? That the matter will go to them and they will give decisions. No? That how to go ahead. No? So these are my concerns, which I came across in the last 2 years, and I thought of sharing. No? Thank you.
Just to add to what Rupak is saying, Rupak, hi, how are you? I didn't realize that
Yeah,
it was you
always,
guarding
always.
there. I didn't realize that.
Yes, sir.
All ships that go to sea and submarines that go to sea are constantly recording the HEs of merchant ships, warships, etc., etc. That's a constant process. And then we all send it to wherever they go for analysis. Now, obviously, warship information will be classified and whatever we picked up. But merchant ship classification need not be classified. It's a merchant ship. It's got a propeller. It's doing 160 RPM. It's doing 18 knots. You can guess it's a 50,000 ton ship or whatever it might be. That's not classified. That's sheer operator's understanding of how a propeller churns in the water. From that, is there any mechanism you've devised, or have you spoken to the Navy to say that at least that unclassified bit can be shared with you, so that this actual data and not simulated data can actually be fed into your tools to see the effectiveness of being able to distinguish signal noise ratios, etc. Is that a next step, and you will perhaps do it at a later date, or you have anything like this?
So
Because this is actual, authentic, raw data recorded on a sonar.
So actually, to share with you, sir, that people don't have much of time for R&D activities. Everybody is in a hurry to put down the phone when you talk to them. It's so difficult to find people. So only personal, relations really work. And but the personal relations sometimes encroach on the official, this thing, making it slightly, unpleasant. Actually, I mean, I would just reserve my comments. So I think, sir, we need to be more informal about informal about talking to each other, and it's with enthusiasm which we need to exchange information quickly, and everything.
I'll answer your point, sir. Berry sir, you have raised some very important points, and I want to just give you a background because I was working for the nuclear submarine classifier when I was doing my PhD from 2002 to 2007. And again, data is an issue. And even that time, I was a serving naval officer, but I was posted in IIT Delhi. So we were not given the data that we desired. So the only option was to generate the data and then perceptually get it validated. So we generated a synthetic data. So that's my background of understanding. And today there are certain algorithms using which, and that's what my team is also doing that. And so we have generated synthetic. And so other point is, Ajay Singh sir, you'll also realize that if you have to cover the entire Indian Ocean, how many sensors can you put and how much data can you collect? And they will never be able to get you so the only approach, as I had also talked about in my presentation, is the modeling and simulation. And the data needs to be used to validate the model rather than, the shallow water acoustic measurement. Otherwise, you can never get the larger picture. So there are techniques today which we are using. But what you said about the US Navy, so that data, but that is not relevant to us. Every ship has a very unique signature. So when you are working on a very specific classification thing, you have to have. So for me, it took me a year to generate the synthetic data. And that time, you can imagine 2004-5, what kind of computational capability we had. So it took me a lot of effort. Then we also went to NOTPAC and ASW score to validate the perceptually what the sound we have generated, and we found almost 90-95% a match. Then the second stage was the actual field validation. We went to underwater ranges Goa and validated that. Obviously Navy will always be concerned about the data security. So what we said that these computers, we'll put it here. We will never take this computer out even after the project. They remain with you. And we went there, validated the thing, came back with just the understanding of where our algorithms have kind of deviated, and then go back and fine tune them on the ground. And from almost 70% classification to we reached about 92% classification. So using the underwater ranges data. So that's a very important organization. Navy has, and other thing that you said, Commodore Ajay Singh sir, you said about the data that ships and submarines collect, it goes to NOTPAC, and NOTPAC is supposed to have the data. I don't want to comment where the data goes or what is the thing, because I'm no more in the Navy. So, but there is a system in place. How effective the system is, I think we'll have to discuss with the Navy. So I think I will stop at that. So I think if there are no questions, we'll go to the concluding remarks. Ambassador Mudgal sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Arnab. As always, a very fascinating presentations. Every time I listen to these presentations, I told you earlier also, in fact, my mind gets further loaded with the question how to finally utilize this information in achieving the goal. In fact, I heard the questions. I have been working on this. My interest in this started with my exposure to blue economy as part of the first task force on blue economy under FICCI, and then as part of steering committee on blue economy in the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. I have been dealing with this now for almost 12, 13 years, but still, for me, it's very difficult to explain to my interlocutors what exactly needs to be done if we really mean blue, right? Everybody understands economy, but very few people understand why it's called blue. Yes. So today we discussed about acoustics kind of as a kind of a tool to understand the underwater domain awareness, but as part of the larger marine spatial plan, because this will form part of the large goal of marine spatial planning. We are looking at very, very extensive data sets. And I fully agree, whether the policymakers fully understand and appreciate this, not so far. It's a long journey, but why we have started this? Because as I said, today we talked about only acoustics, but we are worried, and not only we in India, but everywhere in the world over, we are worried that without the ocean health and sustainability, our future could be very uncertain. Yes, because in fact, the UNSC considers global warming as an existential threat. And without the ocean health, I simply have no hope of managing climatic stability. Now, ocean health, when I mentioned this data, we don't really understand what's there in the relationship of ocean behavior, climate change. The whole process happens underwater. We only see the consequences over water, but it happens underwater. Be it the physical, reactions, be it the chemical reactions, be it the biological reactions, then the consequences in terms of impact on the standard circulations underwater, which then play an important role in climate stabilization. Now, this is a very, very massive task. Why we have started doing it, in spite of the fact that very few people appreciate and understand this, because we may do it or we may not do it, the world is doing it. You see, I am aware how industrialized countries have worked on aspects now for many years. And I have absolutely no doubt when they have sufficient data and sufficient analysis, all these things will then breed into full regulation, which will come in the way of developing countries. Now, India, we say, we are a leader of Global South. Like Arnab mentioned, this is a very, very expensive and technically heavy kind of approach. Now, developing countries have their own limitations, both in terms of investable money and the availability of technology. But fortunately, India is sitting somewhere in between, right? We are not so, we may not be so advanced as the industrialized countries, but we are not exactly comparable to the last in the queue. So we have those capabilities in niche areas. Our approach is that we sensitize the policymakers that better we prepare for this, more say we have when it comes to the international regulation. Now, this international regulation may relate to shipping. This international regulation may relate to the biodiversity. It may relate to many other factors. But at the end of the day, they impact economic activity. You know, we have seen that. This is not the first time. We have seen that as part of the WTO negotiations, because we were not adequately prepared. Paying the price for that regulation, because we were not part of the teams which were defining or designing the regulation. Now here, you know, we seem to have some head start. If, as MRC is doing, I really appreciate MRC for this, because nobody else is doing it. Now, if we are able to kind of gather this data, analyze this data, and convert that into a demonstrable model and its application, I'm sure then the policymakers will understand that this could be done. Which means we don't have to fully depend on others for technology and the methodology. So that is the whole purpose. In fact, in the MRC booklet on which we are working, is going to spell out all the parameters of underwater domain awareness, not only acoustics, but as I say, acoustics, the biochemistry, the physiological features, and all that stuff. And when we combine this data, basically, as part of the MSP, we need to know how to avoid or mitigate intra-sectoral conflicts under the blue economy, number one, and then the conflict between the human activity and the ocean health. Now, unless these two things are handled, we would not know when we cross the red line in terms of ocean health. And once we cross the red line in terms of ocean health, I strongly believe that it is not a reversible process then. We all will have to pay very heavy price, right? And therefore, my hunch is that before we get close to the red lines, the international organizations will bring in very tough regulations sooner or later. And we will again land up paying the price of that regulation. One is this, that are we prepared to sit on the table, right? Or we stay out. As people say, if you're not on the table, you will be on the menu then. Yes? So I'm sure we don't want to be on the menu, we want to be on the table. Now, why would you be on the table if you don't have the basic competence in terms of understanding the underwater domain awareness? So what they are doing, it may appear, and right now, it may appear too technical, and as a result, beyond the understanding of ordinary people. But I'm sure sooner or later, we would understand that this is important. Working on what is called the way forward in terms of model policies, in terms of ending these conflicts. And once we, like for example, when you went to IMO, they understood the whole thing. Yes, and I'm sure when they see the competence what you are doing, they naturally will call you in, because they also do not want to give the impression that, you know, the global south will be excluded from the negotiation. And for these international treaties, like say BBNJ. Now BBNJ will put very, very strict regulations in terms of high sea operations. Now, if we don't have the basic understanding of the underwater domain awareness, then we are defenseless. You know, we will be told that you are doing this and therefore you should pay this price, and we'll have no option. This is what, when I look at this, I look at this from this viewpoint, that we are building the blocks for understanding the process so that we are not finally at the receiving end of the regulation. Yes. One is its application so that we protect our interest in the high seas. The other is that we must be there when the international regulations come into force. We should have a voice there. And that's why a voice will depend on what kind of competence we have in terms of technology and in terms of data analysis and the solution. If we can't provide a solution, they will say, get out, right? So that is what my perception of the whole. And I'm very happy that at least somebody is doing it. Whenever I go for such conferences, I highlight the importance of comprehensive underwater domain awareness in the interest of designing at least the preliminary MSP processes. Because then we can tell the world, we know it, we have the capacity. And then we can also tell the global south, look, we are standing in between. We can hold hands on both sides. On one hand, we can hold hand with the advanced countries. On the other, we can hold hand with the developing countries. So I was not surprised, for example, why underwater domain awareness was included when Prime Minister met President Trump in the joint statement. You see, there is a reference to joint research and co-production for underwater domain awareness technology, because this is going to be the key. There is no way you can mitigate climate change without understanding the underwater domain awareness in its comprehensive form. So with this, I will stop, unless there is a question from any of those who are in attendance. That is what I want to say, Arnab.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm sorry I again failed to introduce Ambassador Mudgal, sir. Sir was, this is 10 years of a decade of Sagar Vision declaration by the Honorable Prime Minister. And Sir was in the thick of it. He was India's ambassador to Mauritius when Prime Minister went and announced the Sagar Vision. So he was also part of the team which formulated the whole Sagar Vision. So he has an in-depth understanding of this. And Sir mentioned that he was also part of the Prime Minister's committee, economic committee. He was representing the blue economy aspect. And for us at MRC, Sir has been a mentor for a long time. And very importantly, Sir is leading our effort on coming out with the MSP handbook. Catherine, Shlok, and of course, Sridhar and the team is also involved. But Sir has been extremely kind, and we definitely feel that this will be in the series of handbooks on MSP that has come up, and we want to assure, and Sir has also mentioned that this is the other handbooks that have come on MSP are largely talking at a very high level, and the work that we are trying to do is going to connect that high level to the ground. So that comment, sir, we take it very seriously, and we are going to work very hard to make it happen. This is, as you said, sir, it's a journey, and I want to assure Commodore AJ Singh, sir, that, sir, we have 6 researchers working very seriously, and these are all coming from very, very top, IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. They've been with us for almost 3-4 years now. And one is working on climate change. Shlok is working on coastal management. So the digital tools for shrimp farming and various fish finding, all that is being led by him. Then we have Romit, who's now IIT Delhi BTech, and now he's doing his PhD working on sediment management. So that's a very important area. And navigability is such a big issue, but there are so many other aspects which are important. So again, there will be an MSP there also. Because representing it in the digital form is so much more important. Then Catherine is herself driving the blue economy. And then we have Pradnya working on acoustic fingerprinting, sir. So that's also something we are looking at. So I think I'll give a moment to Sridhar, and we have Shishir Sirotra, so Commodore Shishir Sirotra, so from RIS. Sridhar, quick comments from you, and then we go to Commodore Shishir Sirotra.
Right, sir. I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for your amazing comments on this. And I wanted to appreciate the efforts of the engineering team specifically, who has done work on this, starting from Jay, Shreya, Ayush, Shubham, and Angela. Usually it takes around 30 engineers to work on this, but these people have put their heart and soul into it to start this initiative and worked continuously and tirelessly. So just wanted to appreciate their effort into this and acknowledge the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Shirotra sir, over to you, sir.
Much for such a wonderful session. I hope you're able to hear me. Yeah. So I just wanted to, make a point that marine special planning MSP is a very important aspect of, growth sector of our country, and use cases are the key to be developed in this, field. You are already doing some tools. So I would like to highlight the power of, diverse applications in this area, and particularly, in the areas of port planning, inland waterways, blue economy, renewable energy, sedimentation profiling, and so on and so forth. So, you have to develop these use cases and application of this technology in these areas specifically, where it can help us, for instance, for port planning. Huge scope is there. We have more than 200 non-major ports in India, as you are aware, and out of that, 65 of these non-major ports already handle cargo, and already we are in the process of expanding these ports, and MSP can be a very very handy tool in identifying suitable locations of expansion, considering factors like water depth, navigational channels, proximity to transportation networks, and environmental sensitivities, etc., etc. Also, the use of MSP tools or MSP to resolve conflicts, normally, which it will allow the different uses of the same infrastructure, just as for fishing, recreation, conservation, and shipping, etc. So MSP is a very very important tool. Now coming on to, inland waterways, again use cases are very very important, and you have to, this handbook enough, or developing this handbook is good, but you have to diversify and mention these use cases in a very very comprehensive manner. So for inland waterways, it's a very very important growth sector for us, and navigation planning to optimize navigation routes. Also with respect to inland waterway management of transportation, and also with respect to uh, flood mitigation, drought management, sedimentation profiling, and so on and so forth. Fisheries, I will not speak. A lot has been spoken, and sustainable development of marine resources, promotion of innovation, and in this area of fisheries is very important. Renewable energy, another very untapped resource, both for offshore wind and wave energy, and there again, grid connection planning, developing these microgrids, again a huge impact can be made by MSP. So again, you'll have to make these tools and use cases which will allow for the integration of the renewable energy into the infrastructure, existing infrastructure, whether it's for port or for inland waterways or for other related maritime clusters which are there. Fourth, most important is, you highlighted, and some of your researchers also mentioned about this sedimentation profiling, and it's a very very important tool for not only coastal erosion management, but also for planning the dredging operations, and also for preventing and predicting the sedimentation in the channels. So, what I would request is that you, along with, we can give you a little bit of support. You can develop not only these models. You've already developed some models. You can highlight the aspects of data acquisition, where you are talking about gathering the data from hydrographic sources or river discharge management measurements and coastal erosion rate measurement and other meteorological related data, and then integration of this data and analysis with a kind of a spatial data overlay, which can help us not only uh, uh, take decision making or do decision making, but also help us in navigation safety, help us in dredging requirements, help us in preserving the water quality, and above all the scenario planning. So all these use cases would be very, very important for your analysis and documentation in not only in this handbook which you are mentioning, but also for bringing the coastal economy or the blue economy realize its true potential. So technology is inseparable from technology. Without a socio-economic impact is no technology. Developing technology which does not have a socio-economic impact is just for research, basic research, and so on and so forth. So we have to graduate from this aspect of basic research and get into application areas where you identify these use cases and get on and with the impact assessment in the socio-economic realms and domains. So that's my request to you, and we are there to help you realize this potential. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your comments, and just wanted to highlight things. So today there was not enough time, so we could not go. So, and as we announced in the beginning, it's a series of monthly innovation meet. So in our second, we are covering coastal management. In the third, we are going to talk about the sediment management. And we would like to impress that we have conducted field experiments in Khadakwasla, and we have also generated data and done the impact assessment. And the second aspect is that we have now started working on the data fusion because acoustic data is hard to get, but satellite data is far more easier, and how to use models to build using satellite data to build the underwater picture. So we have, I mean, last 2 years, we have also added that part, data fusion, so that the satellite data can be used to build an underwater picture. So I think we have multiple case studies to present, time permitting. We will, and this is a series which will carry forward. And there's a lot of documentation that we have done. I mean, now our two researchers are working on gap analysis and white paper. So the gap analysis covers a specific area, a specific application, and a specific stakeholder, and covers the real world data. Like suppose we take the Konkan coast, we talk about the sediment coastal erosion, and with very specific inputs covered under people, economy, nature, how it impacts people. I mean, AJ sir had talked about climate change impact, but we bring it out in a very systematic manner. What are the economic impact and what are the sustainability impact? And then in the white paper, we come out with what are the policy gaps, technology gaps, and capacity building gaps. So it is very comprehensive, and by the end of the year, we will have a compendium of 12 such things which are very specific, which will support real decision making in terms of kind of solving problems. So I think we'll end there. And if Mudgal sir or AJ sir has any final comments before we close. No, I think yes, sir.
I'll just take 30 seconds. From what Dr. Shrotriya highlighted about these issues, I think the most important is that most of these are aligned with our Sagarmala program, port-led development, whether it was developing a non-major ports, new ports, navigable channels, inland waterways where sedimentation, depths, etc., very important, how the currents flow, how the river flows, etc. So I'm just thinking aloud. Isn't there a possibility that MRC with this pioneering work gets incorporated into the Sagarmala program from a point of view of highlighting some of these areas? Because that will give you not only, firstly, it will give you specific areas to work on which are of interest, and secondly, I think it will give you some sort of government financial support, because it will then be part of a institutionalized program which is well funded. We all know Sagarmala is a well funded program. It's a program which is moving on track. It's moving towards a very distinct sort of goal at the end of it, of making India a maritime power by 2035, whatever timeline is given in that. So is that a possibility? I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud, rather than, saying first you do something, then we'll look at incorporating you, rather than say that, look, we're incorporating you, now you deliver the results on the following areas where you've been doing research, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, sir. That's a good possibility. That's why I requested him to focus on the use cases and how these use cases can make a economic impact. Economic is very, very important. We always think that disaster management, preparedness, and having resilience, and preserving and conservation, etc., are important. They are important, but they go hand in hand with economic development. And our main aim of our Sagarmala or any such program, Ambassador Sir would also agree, that is to develop these aspects of blue economy, which is untapped potential. India is a maritime superpower, not only because of its geographical position and the size of the coastline and the economic zone, EEZ, etc., but we are a maritime superpower because of the population which also lives there. And in the past, this population has been in the prime focus for shipbuilding. We were in the ancient past, we were a maritime superpower in the times of Mauryas, Cholas. Built ships. They operated these channels, and we had a vast, very, very fully developed maritime economy. So with the advent of technology, now we have to regain that supremacy. And economic aspect of use of technology is very key to this initiative. And we do it in a very frugal way. So as Ambassador Sir was mentioning, we can be a path breaking or a leader in the global south to carry these technologies to the global south also. And just like Incois does these advisories, so we can create a digital ocean, and this digital ocean can be shared resource for the global south, for the Indian Ocean countries who rely on us. And Prime Minister's initiative of Sagar is very important. It does not only talk about security and collaboration at that end. It talks about growth for all. So growth only comes with economic growth, and there I would like NirDhwani and Dr. Arnab Das team to focus and develop these use cases. Sagarmala, we are, and IWI and the other divisions of Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, they are always there to promote these technologies, and we can give them pilot implementations. We can find other resources, not only the government resources, but we can find other resources like the Reliance Foundation, the Swaminathan Foundation, who work in these areas of coastal community development. We can also find other means of finance for them, but the idea is to create these use cases. That's my request. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just want to quickly, before I request Mudgal sir to give the final remarks, Dr. Shirota sir, Commodore Sashi Shirota sir is the head of Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity. This is a very unique initiative under RIS, which is a think tank of the MEA, but this center is also working for the Ministry of Shipping. So it's a very, very unique center which is there, and you can definitely make out from his deliberations, what he represents. Thank you so much, sir. And now, Anup sir, over to you.
Many speakers mentioned about Sagar. When we were kind of thinking on those lines, it was a massive kind of a burden on our shoulders how to balance economy, security, and sustainability. Now, security on the high seas is better understood because dealing with it for many, many years now. Yes. Economy, we better understand because we have been dealing with those aspects for many, many years. Ever since the human civilization we have been harnessing for economic benefits. It is the sustainability aspect, which is a new boy on the block, as we call it, and is much more complicated, both compared to economy or the security. Because I fully understand that, if there is no economic benefit, then we won't be able to mainstream this work. People won't support it. I totally agree with that. But when we look at the ocean health, if it deteriorates, has the capacity of disrupting everything. It will disrupt the economy, it will disrupt the security, it will disrupt the regulation, in fact. It will disrupt the social part of our society. Now, can we ignore? This is the pivot, in fact. Without this, neither the economy will sustain, nor the security will sustain. Yes. So therefore, in fact, I'm very happy that, at least somebody is pushing this idea of underwater domain awareness. Because without that, the sustainability aspect will be beyond us. Because we won't understand what's leading to what. What is called the causes of things. We'll probably suffer the things without knowing what are the causes of things. So underwater domain awareness will help us understand those causes. And once we understand the causes, I'm sure the impact can also be resolved. So therefore, India is in a unique position, because I have been all over the world. You see, the advanced economies have been working on this for much longer than what we think. As a result, they already have a lot of data analysis and also thinking towards how to bring that into regulation. Because they know that if the ocean health deteriorates, everybody will suffer. It will not be localized. Now, if everybody will suffer, I am sure they would not let others do things which may result in that suffering for everyone, which means through what? Global regulation. Now, if that global regulation is not fair to us, then we will end up losing. As I said, in the earlier global regulation, we have been at the losing end because we didn't have the capacity to negotiate. And in this, we want to have capacity to negotiate, because this is at least, no, today our situation is much different. We can invest in capacity expansion, as a result, a much better understanding of the domain, and then go to the table and say, look, this is our view on regulation. So for example, European Union suddenly brought carbon tax. Oh, come on, for God's sake. We will be losers in this whole process. There may be more regulation. Yeah. They have the pollution regulation. They won't allow your ships to dock at their ports. What will you do? So finally, we will be in a trap where we would neither understand nor will have a say in the regulatory framework. Right? So therefore, my submission is that we, as I say, we absolutely understand the economy and the security part. There, our understanding is much, much better. But the sustainability aspect, we don't understand. Nobody understands, in fact. More than invest a lot of the sustainability of the ocean behavior, ocean life. So therefore, I appreciate everyone for having paid attention to this important aspect of underwater domain awareness, because that's the only path forward. Otherwise, we will be recipient of technology. We will be recipients of the methodology and the approaches, as we have done all our life. So this is the time when we can be generators of technology. We can be generators of regulatory framework rather than the recipients. So if we can do it, let's do it. Yes. So this is going to be, we are used to saying, knowledge economy and knowledge everything. But when it comes to underwater domain awareness, I think no other sector will compare with this. in terms of its knowledge intensity. It's heavily knowledge dependent, but somebody has to do it. Yes. So Arnav, with these words, I thank you very much, because you are really doing pioneering work in this. It's going to be easy, I can tell you. I've been saying it always, but at least somebody has to show that we are doing it. And there is recognition. You went to European Union, you went to IMO, you are in touch with the American institutions, and they appreciate what you're doing. No. So because they want to co-opt you in this knowledge building process. Yes. So let's not really kind of look away from this important aspect. Concentrate on this. Of course, once we do it, we will benefit economically. We'll benefit from the security viewpoint. But the pivot, in my view, is sustainability today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, team. I really appreciate Commodore A.J. Singh, sir, Commodore Shishir Shirotra, sir, and all other participants who have joined us, and the team for putting up this together. And I also request all of you to join us for our next webinar on the 19th of March with NISA, Department of Defense. So kindly, we will definitely be circulating all the invites. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Mudgal sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Arnav, it was a pleasure being part of your discussion today. Very, very illuminating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Well done. Jay, very well done. And obviously the team, all of you. Catherine, thank you for putting it all together. Thank you.
Thank you.